Support for Ask Town comes from the post office.
The post office.
Post orifice?
More than 7 mayors around the world
Use a pelican.
To send letters, gifts, and deliver blackmail.
The post office. The only way to send letters in Animal Crossing.
Very nice.
I am a pelican.
Really?
When I tell people I'm the mayor of Asstown, it doesn't always go very well. People look confused, sometimes upset, sometimes furious. But as I was trying to tell the officer at Passport Control, it's really not that complicated. Asstown is a podcast, I say, and I'm the mayor of it. The podcast is about a village where I live with a bunch of simple-minded, selfish and deluded animals, pay off a mortgage by selling turnips, furnish a museum with art acquired from a dubious fox in a tent, and occasionally get shouted at by an angry mole who, along with his brother, is constantly watching me from a top-secret surveillance centre. Oh, and I should have mentioned, the village is in a video game called Animal Crossing. Can I go now, please? I'm your mayor, David Thair, and this is Asstown, a podcast about Animal Crossing from High Score Club. In each episode of this series, I'll be exploring the world of Animal Crossing with the help of 6 other mayors. In this episode, we'll be talking about what Animal Crossing actually is and what makes it so special. We'll also travel with one of our mayors to visit a town lost in time and... Oh crap! They're early! Here they are now!
I'm Charlie and I am Mayor of Rosewish.
I'm Ho and I am the Mayor of Imperial.
I'm Sailor, Mayor of Big Tuna.
I'm Pomble, Mayor of Chuk Chuk.
I'm Timothy and I'm the Mayor of Sassley, spelled Sassly. It would have been Sassyville, but I'm guessing there's a letter restriction.
That must have been it.
Yeah.
I'm Martin, the Mayor of Steenton, or Steen as it's known in the game, because Steenton is one character too many.
So that's them. But what exactly is Animal Crossing? Does anyone really know? As you'll probably have found out if you've ever tried, Animal Crossing is a difficult game to explain succinctly. So I'm not even going to bother. Instead, let's listen to my guest mayors give it a good go. Starting with Mayor Pomble, or as I like to call her, Kristyna.
It's a kind of a simulator game, so it's a sim where you set up a town and people come living it, but essentially you are on an island paradise that is a very cute capitalist model with friends.
I've always thought of it as a kind of a collect 'em up, is how I'd think about it, because a lot of the time I focus on collecting stuff in the game. That was what I like to do. It's like a role-playing game, but where you've stripped out all the violence of role-playing games, and there's no levelling or anything like that, you know, but you're still trying to kind of construct this character and try and build relationships with the people in your town, but it's just very relaxing. You know, there's no jeopardy in it, really. And it's a big contrast. It's an interesting game design philosophy, I think.
You don't level up, but in a way your town, your city levels up.
Yeah, you level. So there is progression in it.
Yeah.
And you're leveling up your stuff, and you're leveling up your town. So there is. It's not. I think some people maybe think that Animal Crossing you don't do anything in it. But there is, and there's definitely some quite, maybe not complex systems. There are definitely a lot of different systems in the game, and you can kind of try and get into.
I think you're right. There isn't really any jeopardy, but anytime it feels like there's any sense of jeopardy, it's really shocking. Like if you meet a scorpion and it stings you. And you faint.
Yeah, when you fall in one of the holes, which happened to me when I went back to the village.
Yeah, it's always even more surprising when it happens. So, yeah, there could be a dark undercurrent to Animal Crossing if it wanted to, but there probably isn't.
I'd call it a big old time sink. No, maybe not. Maybe I'd call it a nice, genteel, rural, bumbling around type game. I think that's probably it. I can't really put my finger on whether it's an RPG, because it's not really. It's not a town builder, not really. It just takes a bit too long. Just go around having hobbies.
A hobby having game.
Maybe more about having duties. It's kind of similar to real life, but not really. But except it is pretty close in some aspects.
Like a gut punch of a game, an emotional, manipulative, cute fest designed specifically to give you, I'm doing air quotes here, feels. But I love it, but I also hate it. Like, having been away from it for 3 years, Jeez, yeah. You sort of remember everything you love and hate about it all at once.
Was it like going back to your hometown, or like, say you went back to your university town or something?
Yeah, it's a bit, yeah. Except that you literally legged it. You didn't say goodbye to anyone. You just like, bye.
You ghosted on them.
Yeah. Yeah, that's exactly what I did. But you know what? They were pushing me away.
They wanted too much from you.
They do. They want a cafe. They want all these fossils. Like, come on, I'm one person. And also, I never asked to be mayor.
It's a game with no end, and it's just a kind of a brain escape. It's a literal quiet place. Like if you had a happy place in your brain, it's a happy place that you can pay money for and put on a 3DS.
It's like a life simulator that's more about interactions and self-expression than it is about city management or town management, although there's some element of town management too now. I would say it's just a very cute, surprising, charming, well-written game.
But what do you do in it?
Whatever you want. It's like the Seinfeld. It's like the Seinfeld of video games. I think at the time when I first played it, it didn't feel wholly original, but it felt very surprising. The fact that the characters had memories, the fact that the characters could travel to your friends' towns, the fact that they could leave you and move to your friends' towns, which is even more miraculous in the day before consoles had widespread internet access. The fact that someone could come over to my town by plugging both of our memory cards into the GameCube, and then the next 2-3 days later, I could have someone leaving for their town, even though their memory card was not in my house anymore.
Yeah, it can be quite a shock.
Yeah, absolutely. It's sad as well, but knowing that they're with your friends, it's kind of, it's nice. It's a great way. I think it's a great game to kind of play alongside friends. It's a game that kind of brings people together and then keeps them together. It's not like most video games where you have to be playing side by side. In Animal Crossing, there's kind of a narrative that can unfold in the network of towns with your friends.
So in summary then, Animal Crossing is an emotionally manipulative collect-em-up brain escape that's about self-expression while carrying out your duties to a cute capitalist model. Well, that's cleared that up. I was a university student, yes, I have an arts degree, living on the south coast of England when I first stumbled upon Animal Crossing in a giant independent video game shop called the Video Game Centre. It might have a bland name, but it was probably the best game shop I've ever been in, and I've been in Super Potato. So I bought an import copy of the North American version of Animal Crossing on the GameCube, along with the freeloader import game enabler disc, which meant I could play the game a full 2 years before its eventual release in Europe. I was sure this would mark me out as a gifted and unique individual among my peers, and evidence seemed to confirm it. I'd noticed people point at me and whisper on campus, and I'd smile and wave back. It seems that word had got around that I was someone pretty special. So that's how my story with Animal Crossing began, but what about my fellow mayors? Let's start with Charlie.
My first experience of Animal Crossing was, I didn't really have a lot of games consoles when I was younger. A friend had it, and I remember playing it for quite a few days, I think on a holiday or something, and just thinking it was the most brilliant thing I'd ever seen. I thought it was really charming. I like anything with an animal that talks. And it was one of those things I didn't know what it was called. And then I remember when New Leaf came out, I was like, it's the thing.
Ah, right, I see.
And that you have that moment where you see things and everything sort of clicks into place and you go, oh God, I'm going to have that experience and it will be my experience, not somebody breathing down your neck going, don't touch that.
So when you played it on the GameCube, you did have your own villager, but they were living in the same town, I presume?
No, I just played somebody else's game. Like I didn't own a games console or anything like that. So I just played it at friends. So
that's why they didn't want you to...
Yeah, don't touch anything, don't do anything.
Yeah.
My first experience of Animal Crossing was receiving the GameCube version for a Christmas present from my brother. We were supposed to play it together over the Christmas break when I was home from university. But he was working full time, so it meant that I played quite a lot during the day when he was out, and so he'd come home with no fossils to dig up, no gyroids to dig up. And so it was a bit boring for him because he'd come home and everything was done already. And I guess that's when my Animal Crossing obsession began. To be honest, I didn't even know what Animal Crossing was before he bought it for me. But I just immediately got into it and couldn't stop playing and can't stop buying Animal Crossing.
I can imagine him coming back and finding just every tree bare, Every item in the shop gone.
No fruit.
Yeah.
Nothing left in the rubbish dump.
Nothing on the beach.
Nothing on the beach. Sold all of that coral. Yeah, so I can imagine he thinks it's a pretty boring game from what he's seen.
There's nothing to do.
Yes, nothing to do.
Well, playing it on the 3DS, yeah, that's the first one I've ever played an Animal Crossing game. I've actually got the limited edition Animal Crossing 3DS, which I believe I bought from Ho, actually. So yeah, she had a spare. So
you must have known that you wanted to play Animal Crossing.
Yeah, I can't really remember what it was. Just one of those big series that people kind of talked about a lot, and I wanted to get 3DS, and it had just come out at that time, and I thought now's the time to jump into this. I always quite enjoyed the Harvest Moon games, but I always found the Harvest Moon games too stressful. Believe it or not,
because you've got to feed your family.
You've got to feed. There's time limits in that game, and I had the GameCube version of Harvest Moon, and I thought it was going to be a relaxing farm simulator. Really isn't. If you don't get your stuff together, then you're done for. Whereas Animal Crossing, the way people kind of described it was it was kind of like Harvest Moon, just with relationships and just with all the nice bits and no kind of responsibility. And it just seemed the perfect sort of game for. I was aware of the GameCube version of the game or console versions, but having a handheld version just seemed the type of game it was, where you dip in for 10 minutes, 15 minutes.
An hour.
Or an hour. Well, actually, I say that I dip in. I looked at my stats on my 3DS, and my average playtime was actually 1 hour and 10 minutes. So I was actually not dipping in for 10 or 15 minutes. I was getting properly sucked in and playing it for quite a long time.
It's the story we all tell ourselves. It kind of reveals itself gradually. You just pop in for a few minutes every day. But actually, there are so many little systems in there that once you pop in for 10 minutes, you've got errands to do, you've got items you want to collect.
I can just do this, I can go and do that. Oh, I just remembered to visit that character. I better go check for a fossil.
I better do some weeding, because there are some...
Yeah, there's always something. It feels like you wonder, what am I going to do in this game? And then it just it's kind of irresistibly kind of draws you in and draws you on. You keep wanting to discover new stuff.
Was this game your first experience of Animal Crossing?
I thought so, yes, except when I was desperately trying to find the cartridge, which didn't exist, I found Animal Crossing Wild World, which must have been for the DS, which I have zero memories of.
So loading up that town might be even more interesting.
Oh, come on, I don't even know where my DS is.
Well, I've got a DS, so...
Okay, I'll dig that up for you.
Imagine what treasures could be in there.
It would be awful. If it's anything like that, it would just be like a queue of animals lining up to tell me what a bad person I am.
Oh, yeah, but that's everyone's experience of going back to their old town.
I was surprised, though, no weeds.
Well, that's because Leaf has cleared them for you.
That's nice. Good work, Leaf.
Because they knew that lots of people have not played for a while, so this update was a big, significant update, and they put in that feature so that you wouldn't have to go through the process of weeding your whole town, because that's kind of a boring way to kick it off, isn't it?
I totally arrived at this game really late in life, or later than most, I guess, or maybe not. Maybe I'll find out that there's more people like me by doing this podcast. I got gifted a Nintendo 3DS on my 30th birthday, so about 18 months ago, from my eldest brother. It's the greatest gift I've ever been given. It was amazing. And he gave me A Link Between Worlds as the kind of like game on it when I got it. So I played that through, because Link to the Past is like my favourite game ever. And once that was up, I asked a few people what games I should play. And like again and again, people were saying Animal Crossing New Leaf. So I got it and played it really intensively for about 6 months and really loved it. I used to work as a lecturer, so I probably, between the months of September and May, that's probably when I played it in the last kind of couple of years, because that was the most intense time, and I would like escape into an Animal Crossing world to chill out and have a good time and feel better.
For a game which you can play for a little bit every day for potentially forever, it sounds like you achieved a lot in Animal Crossing in a relatively short space of time. And most people would not play a game for that long, I reckon. But in Animal Crossing terms, I think you did a lot.
Oh, well, that's good. Like, I'm not sure. I don't have a benchmark to measure it against, really. So I was coming to it as a bit of a noob, and I loved unlocking things and figuring out how to crack different bits of the game. Like when I got the wetsuit, I lost my mind. I was like, I can dive and there's this whole extra section and I can dive at home. Those little extra, like how the kind of universe builds and you get loads of extra things unlocked, man, that I was like addicted to those little boosts, you know? It was so good.
It's like a little reward every time you play, and it keeps you coming back.
My favourite thing about 3DS was that you can kind of take it around with you. And I hadn't had that since I had like a Game Boy Color in the early 2000s. So it was like a good 15 years since I'd had this kind of pocket thing that I could always kind of play with, apart from a smartphone. But the smartphone's got Twitter, and Twitter is full of horrible people. But this kind of pure thing that you can escape into, I hadn't had for so long. So it was really playing it heavily when I was traveling, or because I live like in the north of England, so I'd come down to London for work or whatever, so I'd have this like 2.25 hour journey on the train, and I could just like blast Animal Crossing, and that train journey has never been as pleasant or fast like without my 3DS. It was so good, and I'd like really look forward to traveling and like opt for a train instead of driving so I could play like Animal Crossing more. And then we had like a flight, like holiday flights, and I was just like, I'm totally packing my 3DS. I did jury duty, which was the most awful, like the most horrific stuff. It was the worst, like just the worst of the worst people. Just awful, awful, awful abusers and murderers. But I had my 3DS. So for 2 weeks, I'd go to Leeds Crown Court and listen to some horror stuff and maybe send people to prison. But like on my lunch and while I was waiting in the jury pool, like I just had my 3DS and I was playing like Animal Crossing very heavily at that time. Oh, that was probably like the most I valued my 3DS and Animal Crossing is when I was doing jury duty.
Well, that must have been quite the experience. Have you ever done jury duty, Fitzgerald? Fitzgerald! Have you ever done jury duty? Oh, I'm sorry, I forgot. I don't have a co-host. For some mayors, New Leaf on the 3DS is their only experience of Animal Crossing, but some of us have been playing the games for quite some time. Known as Animal Forest in Japan, the series began in 2001 on the N64. The N64 release was quickly followed by an enhanced version on the GameCube, and this is the version which made it to the West under the name Animal Crossing. This was followed by Wild World on the DS, City Folk, or Let's Go to the City for some reason in Europe, on the Wii, and New Leaf on the 3DS. New Leaf was updated in late 2016 with a new functionality and features, which was a lovely surprise. Let's not talk about Pocket Camp. Here's Martin and Ho on the versions they've played.
I think I've played every Animal Crossing game. The two that I've spent most time in, though, by far the most time was in my GameCube town.
Even more than New Leaf?
Even more than New Leaf. And then a lot of time in New Leaf also, because it felt like New Leaf kind of puts the formula together in the best way.
It's the best expression.
It's the best expression.
That formula. And there's just most to do, isn't there, as well, I think?
Yeah. It felt like between GameCube Animal Crossing and Wild World, a lot was added to improve the quality of life in the game, but there's a lot of stuff that was taken away. Like the games, for instance, is the one that I think most people focus on. It's in that kind of in that time before I think publishers had realised that there was money to be made from the old library of games. And it was great because you could put it on your GBA. Do you remember that? You could link up your GBA, and I think what would happen is you could download the game data onto the GBA's RAM, and so you could go off and play Mario Brothers Arcade NES version if you wanted to, or I want to say Ice Climbers, but maybe that wasn't on it.
It probably was. I think there are about 20 games.
Yeah, I think Balloon Fight was on it.
I've played pretty much every version since the GameCube, which was the first English language available one, I think. All of them great. The one that I have most memories of is probably the one that I played on the DS, because I spent a lot of time looking at the stock market and like joining like online communities. I think it was a LiveJournal one where you could join to post up your friend code, and every day you're supposed to check in and say what your turnip price was that week or that day, and it got tracked, and people could request to come and sell their turnips in your town. So you just connect up with internet strangers who'd come to your town and buy or sell their turnips, and you could go to other towns. I think like the maximum price, a good price was around kind of like 180 bells per turnip, all the way down to like 70, 50 euros? Bells. So, you know, it was good to have that online community where you could go and trade in other towns. That was pretty exciting.
Guarantee good prices.
Yeah.
All year round.
Yeah, exactly. And you could go to other towns and request like fruit from other towns that you wouldn't be able to get usually.
That was always a big frustration. It still is actually, isn't it? In not being able to find the kind of fruit that you want.
I don't think I ever got peaches or cherries as my hometown fruit, which was always disappointing because those are the ones I was aiming for.
See, I had cherries, I think twice, and I was always bored of cherries.
I love cherries. Cherries are the most delicious fruit.
If only we'd been Animal Crossing friends then.
Well, yeah. How many towns did you have?
Maybe on the GameCube we had multiple towns because, you know, on the GameCube if you plugged in another memory card, you could go and visit whatever town was on that memory card. So when me and my housemates had a town, we created another town that we could go to in order to go and sell our fruit for a better price and get better interesting items and stuff.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
You cheats.
No, it was...
You're supposed to all live in the same town.
We did live in the same town. And then we'd go and visit the other town. It's exciting. It's exciting going and visiting another town.
It is exciting to go to another town, but you can't go around just creating new towns just so that you can go and exploit their market.
Well, we did.
Outrageous.
No one stopped us.
Back in my day, we worked hard for our foreign fruit.
Yeah? How did you get it?
We waited until... I think you get sent it in the post from your parents or something, or you get given it as a gift for helping out your townsfolk.
Well,
don't go around cheating, creating new towns.
Or using our initiative and exploring the possibilities of other worlds.
Unbelievable.
It's not a crime, is it? I'm the mayor of this podcast. You can't put me on trial. If Nintendo didn't want us to mess around with additional towns, they wouldn't have put 2 memory card slots in the GameCube, and that's all I have to say on the matter. And now, let's move swiftly on to think about a different kind of memory. The kind we keep safely locked away in the GameCube memory cards of our minds.
I remember a lot of Sundays where I got up early to try and play the Stalk Market, and so that's what sort of lazy Sundays, sort of just pottering around in the game. But also I used to play it on my commute, and I used to commute on the Central Line, and I remember trying to sort of play the game on a packed Central Line train and trying to catch fish and bumping into other commuters and things like that. Which is, I don't know, maybe not the intended environment for playing Animal Crossing, but I really couldn't. I had to play it a little bit every day. Probably
that first Christmas. Yeah, and it was all snowy, and you had to roll up the snowball man. That was pretty good. I got very confused about it. I don't think I actually played it very much, actually, that first GameCube version. I think I played a lot over that Christmas. But then I went back to university and none of my friends were into it. So, and, you know, we had a shared TV that we had to share with all of us. And so I don't think I actually plugged that much more time into it. I do have very fond memories of it. Enjoying it. Bewildering my friends. Trying to explain to them what the game is.
Yeah. That must have been good fun, having them watching you on the screen, wandering around the town, shaking trees and paying off a mortgage.
They were very dismissive of it. Very dismissive. You know, they were into World of Warcraft, I think. I think that was their big thing at the time.
I don't know, I feel that's not so different in a way.
It's not that different, but it was more sociable. Except he was being more sociable with people on the internet than he was with people in his house.
The thing that sticks out to me most is playing it with friends or other people in my life, or now with my wife arguing about the how the town is run, and how poor of a mayor I was, and at the time I didn't want to hear any of it, but now I realise that she would have been a better mayor. You know, those kind of discussions about how we're running our virtual world. It's in a way it's nice because at the time it's kind of like a micro version of reality, right? Mm-hmm. Like you're running this town together, but as time went on, we started to kind of run our lives together, kind of running parallel at the same time, like trying to make things work in Animal Crossing and make things work as like functional adults in the real world. It's nice to have a kind of an analog to running your life but in this kind of very low stakes. Everybody's happy, having a pleasant time. It's kind of like a kind of idealistic looking glass into, can we make the real world this utopian with our plans? The answer is no. I don't think we're ever going to be. I don't think we're ever going to live in a place where we can take the motorboat to the island paradise, but we could try.
You could take the paddle boat to the duck island maybe one day.
Yeah.
Guilt.
Some might say that's a feeling more than a memory. Guilt around anything specific?
I've guilt about, I had a villager who left and it affected me more strongly than I thought, and I really felt like I had let them down. And it made me feel really sad. I just remember when I first got the game, it was like blinking or breathing that I'd just play it every day. It was just part of admin. You brush your teeth, you play Animal Crossing, that kind of thing. And then it kind of slowly slipped out of natural admin, and then I suddenly like, oh god, yeah, that plays. Turn it on, and then terrible things have happened, and it's kind of your fault.
And was it kind of a shock? Did you know that people could leave as well as turn up?
I knew they could leave, but I thought it was something where they'd have to kind of like run it by me, not just because I think I'd had people go, can I leave? And I'd said, no, please stay. So I thought it had to be like that. So to get there and to get just a letter, especially when it's that kind of thing where I tried to come round, but you weren't there, and you just feel like the biggest jerk.
The worst mayor.
A mayor who lets down their friends.
But from that day forward, you resolved to keep tighter control over the comings and goings of your villagers. Yeah.
I mean, maybe sometimes I'd mysteriously get a bit lax if it's with somebody I wasn't that fond of, but I tried to keep a kind of... just keep an eye on things. I've never been one of those people who kind of fiddles with the clock or goes back. If I make a mistake, I make a mistake, and I live by it. But I tried to be a bit more cautious from that point on.
Had you made a particularly good friend, or did you just really enjoy that
I think
character?
It was the first villager I spoke to in my town when I started the game. And it was the first villager I got, when you first start talking to them, they're kind of just like, oh, hello. And then they become a bit more open. And I think he was the first person who asked if he could give me a nickname, or like... It was the first kind of villager I bonded with, and it was kind of the weirdest. It's not, he's not like a conventionally attractive villager. It's not an animal I particularly like. It was just a genuine friendship. So we had a special bond.
I'm very sorry.
There's a kind of calmness and serenity to it that I really enjoyed, because it's very it's an idealistic place, and everyone's kind of pleased to see you, and so I kind of, there's always fun stuff to do, so I kind of I really kind of connect with it. There's always an element of play when you play a video game, but especially so in Animal Crossing, it kind of evokes that sense of playfulness that you just kind of explore and see what comes your way, so that it's not as high intensity or demanding or competitive as other video games that you do play, but there's this kind of real chilled out playfulness. So yeah, I guess that kind of thing is what I most associate with it, and I most enjoy about it as well.
So it's more like a feeling that you associate rather than a specific kind of memory.
Yeah, I think so. There's no ground zero in Animal Crossing that when it kind of struck me, it really kind of just grew on me, and I really from the design to the music to the kind of even the way the little voices and sound effects are designed. I really loved everything about it. It was really kind of my thing. So yeah, I guess it's more the kind of gameplay that I think is really unusual. I'd never played a game like that before.
I remember getting falling deep into it, no, there's two memories. One was just oh my god, I've got to get that balloon, oh my god, there's all that discovery, because normally if there's a game like this and I can cheat, I'll get all the money and do all the stuff and have a lovely, if it was The Sims, I'd be rolling in money, have the best house, and you can't cheat. So I can remember working hard for all the things. My other memory though is going to Philippa's town, our lovely mutual friend, and her town just being a paradise, everything, all the things, she had it all, and just being jealous, sickeningly jealous. How do you do this? What's your secret? And I guess the fact is she's better than I am.
She's probably definitely worked for it. I mean, like you say, there's no way to cheat your way
There's
through,
no
so
shortcuts.
you just have to go for it.
I remember being very proud when I got my first extension from Tom Nook. Nook?
Nook.
Nook. Hey. Not Nuke, like a book. Book?
No, I'm pretty sure it's Tom Nook.
I did a burp, I'm so sorry.
I'm just going to pop the extractor fan on. So I think we're getting to the bottom of what Animal Crossing is all about. There's just such a lot about the game that makes it unique. So many variables which make the experience different for every player. That's why I wanted to know what made the game so special for each of our mayors.
It's so genteel. That's what I love about it. Like, most of the other games that I play are kind of like beat 'em up type things or RPG type things, and it all involves violence in some way. I think there's very few games that are all about just existing and being.
Mm-hmm.
So in the same way that I love Animal Crossing, I really, really love Harvest Moon, for instance. It's just very, very gentle type of game that's not around violence. You can do pretty much whatever you want. I think Harvest Moon is probably a bit more demanding though. Like you've got kind of like the changing of the seasons, and you start worrying about whether your crops are going to grow in time, and then you start worrying about kind of like which imps you need to woo to get them to come and help you on your farm, and then you realise that the season is ticking on. It's all very stressful, but in Animal Crossing it doesn't really matter if you miss big occasions, unless, you know, you've missed, I don't know, Barold's birthday or something.
I think that's one of the worries, is that there's lots of small occasions that you can miss in Animal Crossing.
Yeah, like when Gracie comes to town in her car.
Anyone's birthday.
Yeah. Yeah, it's hard finding out about their birthdays, although it usually gets posted up on the town notice board. Bit like, you know, the Facebook notifications showing you when your friends' birthdays are. But, you know, what if you forget? What if you don't check?
Exactly.
And then you pass their birthday and you haven't sent them a gift?
Yeah.
How are you going to earn their portraits then?
Wait another year. Try and make it up to them.
The lack of violence in it. I think it's very interesting. It's just a game that's built around things that are not typically seen as being, you know, gaming. There's no guns in it. There's no fist fights. It's and the narrative such that is about, you know, friendship and things like that. It's just really refreshing that you don't need to rely on those ideas to create a compelling game that people can enjoy. That's what I like about Animal Crossing. And then I just like the lack of pressure, the way you can just potter. In real life, I like to potter around. That's like my favourite thing to do. I like to potter around my flat. You know, take a look at my bookshelf, watch a television show, play a video game, tidy up. I'm always happy when I'm pottering around my flat. So Animal Crossing is a way for me to potter around all the time.
Wherever
I am,
you could be pottering.
What would really cheer me up now is to have a potter.
Right.
You know, I'm going to potter over here and shake a tree, potter over there and fish, have a chat to this person, you know.
Yeah, sounds idyllic.
It is idyllic. It's an idyllic game.
So unlike anything I can really think of, having it on the 3DS is perfect. Like, it was the 3DS and Animal Crossing are like best buds. You sort of have it around with you, wah wah wah. The character design is great. Like, besides from The Sims, I haven't played anything like it, and even then, like, it's not really like The Sims at all. You have to work so hard. But yeah, having it on the 3DS for a long time was my only gaming system. So, you know, it would have taken up a big part of my life.
But that does explain how, you know, you did good work to your house. You had upstairs, downstairs.
I mean, they were
big
both
rooms.
very small. Upstairs
No, they were pretty big.
Oh, sorry, I forgot. Am I lying for the sake of this podcast? They were huge.
No, I just think
biggest rooms.
I think you're underestimating.
Okay, the size. Fine. I guess when you've only ever seen your own, you just don't really know anything to compare it to.
Exactly.
Can I see yours?
Yeah, a bit later.
Okay, good.
Unfortunately, it's very diminutive upstairs.
Oh.
But it is really very well designed. It's the best furnished room I've got.
Oh, okay. And do you have like a big downstairs?
No, that's quite small as well.
Oh, no!
But it does have a statue in it.
Was it as dusty and dirty as mine?
Yeah.
Oh, God.
It's filthy downstairs.
Filthy downstairs.
Yeah.
I like the freedom. I like that some days you can go, today I'm going to get stuff done. things are going to happen. It's a beautiful day and I'm going to make it even better. And then other days you can kind of just go, I'm just going to sit here and look at that thing. Sometimes I used to just like to have it open and sort of, I'd end up, you know, checking my texts or doing my emails with the 3DS open, just listening to the music, kind of soaking it in. I liked watching the sun go down, like the seasons changing.
Mm-hmm.
There's a nice sort of realness to it.
And I guess the fact that it's sort of persistent, so it's always there in the background, you can open it up and visit.
It feels like a place where even when I turn it off, it's still doing its own thing, which is quite nice.
I like how you play this game and you never feel like you're on the rails. It doesn't have that narrative quest thing that other kind of RPGs or immersive games have. So I really enjoy how you're always chipping away at something and it feels like you're adding to something. So there's all the collections and the relationships with the villagers and the museum and the clothes and your house and your mortgage and all this stuff. But you're always like, it's always like you're making progress, but not in a kind of competitive or narrative way. And I kind of really dig that.
Yeah, it's kind of like you're building something and unlocking something at the same time.
Yeah.
It's got that quite
definitely
special quality to it.
I think it's a confluence of lots of things, really. The first thing is originally how surprisingly smart it was.
Mm-hmm.
But its intelligence kind of comes from relationship building. I think any game that relies very heavily on establishing kind of a relationship and narrative about the game with other humans in your life, real humans in the real world in your life, is very special. There's always something to talk about. It's like having an ant farm, right? But the ants are all super charming, and and you're talking about, no, this is a terrible analogy. It's
but you should keep going with it.
And the ants are all super charming, and all your friends love to talk about the ants. No, it's a bad thing, but it's very special to say, if you like talk to your friend who's been to your town, and you're like, oh, you know, your villager Cherry came to visit me. Did she tell you? And they'd be like, yeah, she said that she came, and then that you gave her like a fruit or something, or a perfect apple or something like that. It's just very touching and fun to see. It's just great. It's good at connecting people. This sounds like marketing hyperbole right now. It's a great game for kind of connecting people and bringing a real world dimension to the game, like a real world social dimension to the game. I think it's quite special.
I've always thought of it like, say, the NES era, the original Mario series 1, 2 and 3, and the early Zeldas, where there were games that were designed, well, especially Mario, you play them over and over again. They look quite simple on the outside, but there's so many hidden secrets. And in the school playground, you'll be saying, have you heard, if you jump through the goal at the end when the clock's on a 0 and something else, then this will happen? Or did you know that if you hit this block at this place, there will be a beanstalk? And it's like an extension of that, because it looks simple. There's only a set amount of things that you can do, but it unlocks gradually over the whole year. And so there's always something new. There's so much room for these mysteries and weird things to happen, and that encourages you to talk about it, because you want to find out, you want to understand how it all works, and that you haven't missed something and all that kind of thing.
Yeah, it feels like that. It feels like that set. This game is from 2001, the GameCube one. So it feels like this game is. It kind of leads. It's only really now that it feels like in game design that kind of sense is coming back. Like open world games, some are so big that guides aren't really a factor anymore. So people have resorted to talking to each other, and that's really great.
Hey guys, just a reminder that this episode of Town is proudly sponsored by the Post Office. At the Post Office, the staff of highly trained pelicans will process, dispatch, and deliver your letters by the next morning, guaranteed. The friendly and courteous Post Office service counter is open 24 hours a day, so you can enjoy their legendary customer service any time of day or night. Whoever is on shift will be only too happy to help. Remember, the Post Office is the only way to send letters in your Animal Crossing village. Before we get started, I just want to ask you about something. So there's kind of a rumour going around town that you're kind of a tree shaker. Can you confirm this? Would you wish to comment?
I have been known to shake a tree.
Have you?
Yeah. Yeah.
What's all that about?
Trying to get some fruit from those trees. Yeah.
That all you're looking for?
That's all I tend to be looking for. Or sometimes, actually, sometimes you get goodies pop out of those trees.
Do you really?
Yeah. If you ever see a tree, I recommend giving it a good shake.
You've got to be careful, haven't you? Or can you just go around shaking an old tree?
Well, sometimes you get bees.
Right.
I believe.
Yeah.
Can't remember the last time that happened to me because I'm very experienced tree shaker.
Right. Good. Okay. Just wanted to check that. From High School Club, I'm your mayor, David Thair, and this is Time Capsule, part of the show where we visit the lost town of one of our guest mayors. In this episode, it's Ed. So I was really keen to get you on the show because I think you're perhaps a little bit different to a lot of the stereotypical Animal Crossing players that someone you might imagine in your head. Yeah. Well, I mean, let's say musically you're kind of a metal fan, doom fan.
Yes, I like the heavier end of the music spectrum.
And then when it comes to other video games that you play, you know, got any particular interests there?
Well, I have always been a Nintendo fan. So I do like cute games.
Okay.
But my favourite game series is the Dark Souls, Bloodborne games.
Yeah.
You know, that's my normal bread and butter.
And I think what's quite fun about your approach to video games is it doesn't really seem to matter what theme it is. If you really get into it, you really get into it.
Yeah, I'm not I don't do video games by half measures.
No.
Yeah, I either take an instant dislike to something and never play it again, or 200 hours later, I'm still struggling away with it.
Because I remember you telling me about how when you were really into Dark Souls, Bloodborne, that you'd be watching speed runs and stuff, and sometimes even not even watching the footage, just listening to it while you were working, that kind of thing.
Yeah, I went through a phase at work of just having speed runs on in the background.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And with a similar kind of level of dedication, I remember going to your Animal Crossing town and just being amazed by how just lush and like how developed it is.
Well, thank you, yeah.
Why is your town called Big Tuna?
Well, that is, I realise, this is quite nice as well with Twin Peaks being back in everyone's consciousnesses at the moment. The town's called Big Tuna because there's a David Lynch film called Wild at Heart, which he put out, I guess, between Twin Peaks and Twin Peaks Fire Walk With Me, I believe, early 90s. And the town that the characters go to in that is called Big Tuna. And it's a kind of redneck town full of weird characters, including William Dafoe, who plays a bizarre hitman. And I was obviously going for a bit of a David Lynch trip then. And my character's called Sailor because the main character, Nicolas Cage's character, in fact, in Wild at Heart is called Sailor.
Wow, that's much less of a cute reason than both of those things sound quite cute by themselves. Big Tuna and Sailor as names.
They're not, actually. It's probably David Lynch's most violent film, I think.
Okay, so Ed, you're going to be digging up your time capsule of your Animal Crossing town from New Leaf. Can you remember the last time you visited your town?
I think it was about 3 or 4 years ago. It's been a long time. I kind of played it a lot and then stopped one day and have not been back to my village since.
And this is before the Welcome Amiibo update, which you just installed.
That's right, yeah, so I don't know anything about that.
So there'll be some new faces around.
Probably,
as well.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
So I'm outside my house now.
Before you go anywhere, can you remember any residents that you particularly liked?
I can't remember their names, but I can remember there was a very lazy gorilla that I liked a lot.
Right.
Who was quite amusing. Hoping as I wander around the village, maybe my memory will be jogged.
And I seem to remember that you'd got a lot of the kind of public works and stuff. You'd got things like the police station.
Yes.
And the cafe.
Yeah, and the museum. I was kind of expanding the museum. Yeah, it looks like I got the cafe. Yeah, I'd have to take a little look around, see what's there. I'm struck with a number of flowers that seem to have planted outside my house.
Well, they might have bred over that time.
Well, I don't think so. I remember planting a lot of these. We're not in a particularly interesting pattern, I must say. Just a lot of flowers. I seem to have laid out some paths as well. I I got quite into that, getting kind of custom designs into the game.
Oh, so what are your paths like? What have you got?
They're kind of cream and sort of light green, alternating, with some of them are cracked as well. So I've got kind of paths all around, all going around my fountains, sort of flower displays. So I remember really getting into that.
And was that to keep people away from trampling on flowers and stuff?
Yeah, I suppose so, yeah. Yeah, I don't know what motivated me to do that, really. I must have spent a lot of time doing it, because there's paths everywhere.
It is a sign of a hardcore Animal Crossing player.
I'm going to go down to the coffee shop, because I can see that on my map. See what's happening there. Oh, I remember this guy. It's the pigeon guy, isn't it? Brewster.
Do you like pigeon milk, or do you get it black?
I always get it black, actually, if I remember correctly.
Don't you think that's a bit insensitive?
Oh no, let's see. I like a coffee. No, not really.
I mean, he's made that milk himself, presumably.
Yeah, that's true, actually, isn't it? Thank you very much. Okay. There's no one here, so I'm going to go head out again. Okay, I can see, I can see the town flag. I'd forgotten about this. I've got a Melvins.
Oh wow!
Must be one of my favourite bands. Well, they still are one of my favourite bands, but I was obviously thinking about them a lot of the time because I seem to have got some sort of custom Melvins flag with Melvin on it's the Melvins kind of red and black on a green background. So, who's this person's home here? Oh yeah, I remember Vladimir. Okay, he's very surprised to see me. He's like a pink bear called Vladimir. I remember him being quite irascible.
He didn't sound too happy to meet you.
No, he doesn't seem to believe it's really me. Oh, he calls me Mayoress. Mayoress? Okay, my character's name is Sailor. That's why I said Mayoress. I can't believe it. Where have you been all this? I'm glad you came back. I'm glad I came back as well, Vlad. Can I call you Vlad? Let's have some fun together. Hover. Okay, that must be... What did he say, Hover? That must be something I told him to say. Okay, there's a sign here. There's a sign here which just says... I've written, there's a custom sign that says Haunted Forest and an arrow. And then if you follow the arrow, there's just loads of trees. Yeah, okay, I made a... I don't know why I did that.
Because it's cool. Who wouldn't want a haunted forest?
I'm just trying to get a bit more uniqueness to these villages. Actually, I've got a lot of big forests.
Wow.
Seems like extensive.
What, are they pine trees or are they fruit trees?
Mix. Mainly fruit trees.
Oh, I wish I had a haunted forest in mine now.
I don't think there's anything... I don't know what's haunted about it.
It could be something really good in there and you want people to stay away.
I've not really looked in I might go and have a look in my house. Have a look inside.
It's going to be a mansion, isn't it?
I think it's as big as it gets. It's completely pink. I've got a totally pink theme.
Really?
Yeah. So I've got a big...
Oh, I need to see this. Oh, wow, you really do.
Yeah, so...
That is not what I expected.
Yeah, I didn't expect that either. What's this music that's playing? DJ KK. Yeah, this is a good one. I've got a lot of KK songs. I've got lots of custom pictures.
Custom pictures?
Yeah, I remember this. I got some sort of, you could get some sort of app for the iPad or iPhone or something and let you convert pictures on different patterns and then import them into the game. So I've got some posters on the wall. I've got Agent Dale Cooper on the wall. I've got an iconic Nicolas Cage poster, and I've got the Jean-Luc Picard facepalm. That was obviously a big meme that was going on at that last time I played this game. But yeah, I've got a really surprisingly kitsch vibe going on in my house. I didn't expect this. Like I've got bubblegum machines. I've got grabber with loads of furry toys. I've got a watermelon table. I just thought I'd put a lot of random stuff in my house, but I'd actually spent a lot of time getting it just the way I wanted it. I never really went into the feng shui stuff, but I guess maybe this must have been the set. It's all like the love set. It's like I've got the bed with the hearts on and the wallpaper, so I must have been going for that.
Must have been going for the sweet HHA points.
Yeah, is that I'm trying to get those? Yeah, I remember that's all coming back now. The HHA points, yes.
So that's all your main room. Have you been to any of the other side rooms yet? Oh, are they all pink?
I've got another room that's kind of citrus fruit themed. I've just gone into. It's got an Apple television. Actually, not an apple, like a television that's shaped like an apple, not the brand. I've got the big trophy. It seems like a trophy room, so that must be the bug hunting trophy. And it's got all the citrus wallpaper. What's in here? Oh, whoa. Okay. I seem to have a weird, museum room.
It's Aztec or...
Aztec, so there's some what are those heads are called?
Easter Island heads.
I've got an Easter Island head. Kind of Inca, I'm going to say, wallpaper. An asteroid just kind of floating there. And that's a really cool room. Wow. Right. Upstairs. It's like a less interesting bedroom. It's a kind of... I've done it like a kind of Japanese royal cam. My character's wearing a kimono, so I was obviously kind of had a certain... And he's got some sort of Final Fantasy-esque hair. But he's wearing a bone kind of cap. There's an eye patch.
It sounds like you've gone for strong theming throughout your house. Like it's not just a random...
Yeah, and then so in the basement, I've gone to the basement now, there's like a full, like a rehearsal space. So
wow.
I've got various guitars, drum kit, mixing desk.
This is really good.
Some percussion instruments there at the back. And you can film it all, there's a camera there. Yeah.
It's probably like a proper indie underground space that can compete with the big cities, Club LOL kind of. Yeah,
obviously this is where my band would come to rehearse before
a show.
Before opening up for KK Slider. I have to say, this is making me really want to play this game again. Just looking at this.
What's the whole point?
I think I was really scared to pick it up. After a few months, I felt like, what if I go back and everyone's left? But they're still there. They still want to hang out. Oh, here's the museum. Now, see, I believe that I actually completed my fossil collection, which is one of the reasons why I stopped playing. I felt like that was a good point. Oh, let's wake up.
That seems to be quite a common theme, actually, between people I've spoken to. But what about, you've got all your fish and insects still to collect?
Yeah, but I felt like that would take... I mean, it took me 130 hours to to get all the fossils. Oh. It's beautiful, these fossils. I was really pleased when I got all these. Oh, who's this? Tammy? What? No way, sailor. I thought you moved to another town. No one's seen you in 1 billion years. Come on. don't exaggerate. I don't remember you, Tammy. I'm really sorry. You've missed me a lot, but I don't recognise your face. I definitely liked collecting things in this game. I was definitely goal-oriented when it came to... I want to get all the fish, I want to get all the insects, I want to get all the art installations. Okay, it seems to have... Okay, so I've got a special exhibition, but it's just all the Nintendo stuff. I'm sure at one point I had a collection that's just all the gyroids. Is that how you say it? Gyroid?
That's how I say it, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, here we go. Here's a gyroid. So I've got endless rows of... I've created some sort of...
Well, that's almost identical to one of my museum rooms as well. I've done the same thing.
But I never really... I was loath to throw them away.
Yeah.
But I don't really understand. I mean, they trigger each other off, don't they? Is that right? I never really understood them.
They respond to sound. So if you had a music playing item in there, they would play along to the sound.
So I just trying to put them in there because I didn't want to throw them away.
Have you got any theories about what gyroids are or where they came from?
I've never considered it too much. I assume some sort of ancient civilization that occupied this land prior to the current residents. Maybe they will tell us some special message about where they came from and what their goals were as a civilization. Maybe a warning about how their civilization ended. Looking at that head, the Easter Island head as well. Maybe that's what happened, because that's what happens at the cultures on places like Easter Island. They decided they were going to spend all of their resources building these heads, and they ended up, destroying their civilizations in the pursuit of doing that. And maybe that's what the gyroids are. Maybe a former civilization spent all of their time constructing gyroids to the point where they failed.
And now they're artifacts that...
Now they're artifacts that make nice sounds.
But appear when it rains.
They do. They appear in great quantities when it rains, don't they? But I was playing this so much. I was playing it on my commute every day. I was playing it during lunch hours at work. I was playing it on my way home.
You were living it.
I was living it. Oh well.
You moved on with life.
I've moved on, but maybe I should move back. Finish off this paving that I laid down.
A haunted forest. An elegant floral home where Agent Dale Cooper and Nicolas Cage stare at you from the walls. And a practice space. Want to experience Big Tuna for yourself? Well, you can. In your own New Leaf Dream Suite. Just go to highscoreclub.com and click on Asstown to find Ed's dream address in the show notes for episode 1. So that just about wraps up the first episode of Asstown. But before I go, I should probably just check the listener mail, which is weird because this being the first episode, I really shouldn't have any. Let's see. I've got one here from Mom. It says, "Dear David, good luck on starting your new podcast. I'll be sure to subscribe and rate it highly in my preferred podcasting app." Oh, that's so touching. Thanks, Mom. And here's one from Fitzgerald, my non-existent co-host. "Dear David, I'm sorry this is sudden, but I'm leaving the podcast." No, you didn't exist in the first place, Fitzgerald. "But my wish is that you'd carry on without me. Don't worry, I plan to." He ends it with 7 kisses, and he's attached a photo of himself, which is, of course, blank. Great. Well, I hope in the future to receive some real listener mail. The next episode will be all about the characters and villages of Animal Crossing. So please tweet @HighScoreClub or email asstown@highscoreclub.com to let us know the characters and villages you feel most strongly about. By the way, check out the show notes for this episode on highscoreclub.com. I've included the disturbing TV ads I found for the North American release of Animal Crossing on the GameCube. If you haven't seen them before, take a look. And that's it for this episode. I'm heading off now to polish my gyroids. Asstown is produced by me, David Thair, for High Score Club. Music for the Asstown theme song, Mayor in an Empty Town, is composed and performed by Christopher Alcock, courtesy of the band Tough Choices. Huge thanks to my guest mayors Charlie Jamison, Ed White, Ho-Yee, Kristyna Baczynski, Martin Steenton and Timothy Winchester. To find out more about these wonderful mayors, please visit highscoreclub.com. High Score Club is a little video game club for good games and equally good people. Find us on Twitter, Facebook, Tumblr and Twitch. Pro tip, that's high spelt H-I. Asstown isn't even slightly affiliated with Nintendo.
Public works are still on